there, welcome to Jujubee DIY. I'm Sarah. Thanks so much for joining me today. Have you ever wondered what to do in between summer and fall? How do you make that transition? Well, I'm here to tell you that sunflowers are a great way to transition from summer to fall. Today is the Fourth Friday playlist, and we are doing all sunflowers. So if you want to see and be inspired on how to transition from summer to fall, stay tuned. For this first DIY, I am using one of these Hexagon shadow boxes from Michaels. I gave it a coat of the Folk Art Home Decor Chalk Paint in the color Nantucket Blue. I'm going to be using this color throughout my video. And I am now going in with some washi tape, and I'm using that washi tape right up against the back side of my box all the way around, and then I'll run a piece in the front all the way around. And just use a little something sharp to kind of get in those corners. You don't want your paint to bleed up underneath your washi tape in those corners. But then just using a makeup sponge and some white chalk paint, I'm going to dab that color in between and create that white stripe. Now, if you make a mess, just go in with a small paintbrush and your original color and just fix those boo-boos right up. No worries. For the lip of the box, I'm going to create some little check marks, but when I first started to go into the corners, I realized that I wasn't making my lines very straight. So I'm going to use some washi tape, and I am just going to go straight up on those sides. So I'll add a piece on that bottom edge or that edge there, and basically I am just going along so that it's completely straight. And then once everything is completed, like you'll see here, then I'll have those little corners sectioned off well so that I can paint in there and make sure that the lines are decent. Now for these lines, I'm just using a 1/4 inch flat paintbrush, and I am just eyeballing this. I am kind of an eyeball crafter. I enjoy kind of that whimsical handmade look, but if that's not for you, definitely use some washi tape, section off the areas, and then paint in your check marks. Now for the corners, they were a little more not as rustic as the other parts, so I'm just using some sandpaper there to rough those up a little bit. Now this paper pad was from Michaels last fall, and I hadn't used hardly any of it, so I wanted to utilize that paper. This was a cut apart that was in that paper pad, and I just cut it out, glued it to the back of my box, and now I'm going to use some of these sunflowers. They're like papery kind of sunflowers on a wire stake, or like a wire, I don't know, backing. The stem, I should say, is wire. There we go. The stem is wire. So I'm just going to hot glue that little brown piece to the yellow piece to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. And then I have these little tiny glass jars from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut my stem down to fit inside my little glass jar. And then using some clear school glue from the Dollar Tree, I'm going to add a little bit in there. And that is going to look like it has some water in the jar. Place your jar in your little box, and you have a super cool and cute decor piece. DIY number 2 is going to be the Odd Man Out, and you'll see in the end why that is. But this little sign came from the Dollar Tree, had a bow on it that I didn't care for. I took the bow off, and then I was showing you that I was using one of those glue remover erasers that you can pick up from the Dollar Tree or any craft store really. Those are great to have on hand if you need to remove glue. They are super great at removing hot glue and other kinds of glues easily. Now this sticker pack is a Dollar Tree sticker pack, and instead of just sticking my stickers down using the glue that's there, I went ahead and hot glued them down. I just want to make sure that these stickers are going to stay in place and not fall off. Then I'm going to use some jute twine to wrap around the top of our jar. To To embellish the front of our jar here, I am using some of this ribbon from the Dollar Tree. It's kind of like the ticking stripe ribbon. And I just made a basic bow with it, dovetailed the ends, and then I'm gonna hot glue that on. I'm also going to use another one of these sunflowers. I just clip that wire off right at the base, and then I'm going to make sure I put the hot glue right there and then hot glue that to the center of my bow. Now I wanted my little ends, the ribbon ends, to lay a certain way. So I'm just going to add a little dab of hot glue, and then I'm going to place them down where I want them to lay. That is a completely and totally optional step. If you like them to just kind of hang and be free-flowing, then just don't glue them down. Adding a little sunflower there at the bottom to complete the embellishing, and I love how this project turned out. For this DIY, I wanted to use one of these Hexagon shelf sitters. When I saw these, I just fell in love with them, and I think they have so much potential for some fun decor. So I used my heat tool to heat up the top part of this, and now I'm going to go in with my scraper tool from the Dollar Tree and just gently lift that top embellishment piece off. Just be very, very careful. This piece is very delicate, and if you do end up breaking it, just use a little bit of wood glue to glue it back together. Now, this top part, I'm going to peel off as much of this top paper as possible. It usually has some sort of a plastic coating, which doesn't take the water very well, but I'm going to do what I can, and then I'm going to spritz it with water and let it sit for a while. Once I've let it sit, I'm going to start scraping all that paper and glue off. Now I'm going to get off as much as I can, and then once it dries, I'll go in and give it a nice sanding with some sandpaper. Once everything's dry and sanded, I'm going to go in and give it a coat of the Nantucket blue on the back and sides. Now, a great alternative to this darker blue color is a turquoise blue or light blue. Those blues look so good with sunflower decor. Now, using a glue stick, I am going to add some glue all over the front, getting to the edges really well, and then I'm going to place my paper over the top. Now, I know this paper pad is not available any longer since it was from Michael's last year. I did see that they have a sunflower-ish paper pad this year. If you want to check that out, just go to michaels.com and you can look and see what their paper looks like. Otherwise, if I get enough likes on this video, I will recreate some of these paper embellishments for you to download for free. So make sure you give this video a like, and then be on the lookout over the next couple of days on my main YouTube page for the link to these paper embellishments that you can print out at home. Now I'm going to add the topper piece back on. I use some wood glue here just to make sure that I can move it around and get it where I want it, and then I'll clamp it with some clamps. So in that paper pad are cut-aparts that they usually sell, and I cut out that Home Sweet Home one, and then this was a strip that has different things that you can cut out on it as well. So I cut out one that says grateful and one that says thankful, and then using my sharp scissors that I use for paper only, I am going to just cut out that circle. I wanted the circle, it fits right inside those the hexagon shapes really well, and then I'm going to trim down the other two pieces. I just wanted a light or a little border on the outsides of each of these. Now, I don't know if you can see, but there is a little bit of a shape on the white printed part of these tags. And I happen to have this We Are Memory Keepers corner punch, and it just happens to be that same shape. So I'm going to use that corner punch for it, but you definitely don't have to. You can keep them in a rectangle shape, or if you want to use your scissors, you can follow that same shape and create that same look using scissors. And of course, going around the outside edge to keep up with the whole theme of all of our other projects, I am going to use a flat paintbrush to create those checked marks. Now this is Dollar Tree foam tape. I am going to cut off a piece, and then I'm going to add it to the back of that circle that I cut out earlier. Remove that backing, and now you have a little piece that sits up on top of your paper. It just creates some dimension and makes this piece look a little more high-end, in my opinion. So I'm going to get it in there as close to the center as possible. As I've said before, and you guys know, I'm an eyeball crafter, so I'm not going to get out a ruler for this, but you can if you want. Then we're going to add some more foam tape on the backs of those tags that I cut out earlier, and we're going to put them in the other two spots. How cute is this so far? I am loving this. And that gold is just such a great accent as well. I love that. To finish off this piece, I'm going to add some of these bigger sunflowers. These are just like the other ones I've used before, except they are bigger and came from the Dollar Tree. And look how cute this is. I just am in love with these shelf sitters, and I've bought a few of them, so you'll see them again in the future. As I mentioned before, today is the 4th Friday Open Challenge playlist. I host this challenge with my friend Lisa from Our Gray House, and this month our guest host is Brenda from Rustic and Lace. Both of these ladies are amazing crafters, and I know you're going to love what they make. Be sure to check out their channels. I'll leave their links in my description box below, and I know you're going to love them, so definitely go check them out. And this also is part of a playlist, and we have people from veterans to newbies that are joining in to share what they're making with you. So make sure you check out the playlist. Again, that link will be in the description box below. For this DIY, we're going to use one of these home signs from the Dollar Tree. I liked that little flower, but I wanted to change it out and make this a sunflower. So I'm going to use my heat tool so that I can pull that out, just heating that glue up a little bit. Just be careful you don't melt your flower, because those are usually kind of a plasticky material and can melt. Now I wanted to outline my home sign with some of this Dollar Tree ticking ribbon. I used hot glue here. However, I'm going to suggest that if you do this project and you want to outline the outside of your project with ribbon as well, I would use a wet glue like Aleene's tacky glue would work really good here. And I think that that would go a lot better for you than it did for me. Using the hot glue took a very long time, and I didn't have any wiggle room to make sure that it wasn't off. So if it was off, I kind of had to rip it back up and then melt the glue off and try again. And the glue was drying really quickly, and it was just kind of a nightmare. So definitely suggest some sort of a wet glue if you're going to do this same project. Now I wanted to outline the front of my sign just to make it stand out a little more. I wanted the letters to be more defined, so I'm going in with some of this white jute twine that I pick up from Walmart, and I'm going to glue it along the edge. Now, as you can see, I'm taking my time and going slow. I want to make sure there is not a gap in between the ribbon and my twine. Otherwise, I think that that doesn't look as good. But if you have your twine right up against your ribbon, it makes it look a little more seamless and a little more high-end. So just take your time and go slow and keep checking that. So once I got the H, the O, and the M done, I was at a place where I couldn't really go back or double back on my ribbon or the twine. So I'm going to cut that off, and I'm just using a little tiny bit of hot glue here just to kind of get those ends that I cut off glued down without it being too bulky or noticeable. And then I'm going to make sure that everything is pushed into place. And then I will start a new piece of twine on the E to finish that up. So one of my favorite parts about using twine is using a lighter to get all those little fuzzies off. I'm a weirdo, and I like the smell of burning twine, but I really love the look that the kind of burnt gives to my twine. So, and because this is white twine, it really shows up, and you've got that kind of rustic, dirty kind of look that's, you know, so popular with our farmhouse decor. So I really love that look. And then of course I have this little sunflower that I picked up from the Dollar Tree, and I just placed that right into the hole. Now I wanted to add some gold accents to this piece just to kind of keep in the theme of the other pieces that I've already made, and I am going to use a gold paint pen here. But as you can see, my paint pen started to kind of pool up, and I ended up with these bigger kind of pooled bits of paint. And I was like, you know what, we're just gonna go with it. We're gonna make some bigger dots. So sometimes you might think, oh my gosh, I've messed up, but think outside the box and try to figure out how you can make it work. And I actually love this happy accident with these bigger drops of paint. And then once I kind of figured out what was wrong with my paint pen, got it fixed, I was able to just draw in those bigger circles, and I love how that turned out. So that home sign is perfect just the way it is, but we can take it up another notch. So I have one of these boxes. These are the stacking boxes from the Dollar Tree. They come, you know, they can stack 3 in, and you can actually buy these right now on dollartree.com and have them delivered to your stores. I think you only have to buy 3 of them in order to get the deal. So just definitely check it out if you can't find these in your Dollar Tree and you want to create the same exact project. So as you can see, I painted it with the Nantucket blue. I went in and did some stripes on the inside, marking those off with washi tape. And then of course, using our paintbrush, we're going to make those same checker marks all along the edge of our box here. Now I cut down some sunflower paper to fit perfectly inside, and look how cute and perfect this all goes together. I adore it. I think it's so cute. And because the sunflower is not glued down and I didn't glue my paper down, I can actually change out my background and my flower to fit other seasons if I want to. Now I put that top little hardware back on. I don't know what those are called, but it's kind of like where you can slide in a piece of paper for labeling or whatever. But I just cut out one of the little cut apart strips that said thankful on it, and I put that in there instead of labeling it. So the top of the box says thankful, which I love. Now I'm going to use one of the taller little tiny glass jars from the Dollar Tree. They have the smaller ones that I showed you earlier, and then this one is a taller one. And I added a little sunflower in there. And now I'm going to use a little strip of paper to embellish the outside of our bottle. I'm just going to use a little hot glue to secure that into place. And then I'll put that in the corner of our box, and that completes this project. How cute is this little set? And like I said, you could actually change it out to fit any decor if you don't glue everything down. For our last DIY, we're going to use one of these little house picture frames. This holds a 3x2 picture, and this was new to me this year at the Dollar Tree, so I picked up a couple of them because I thought they were super cute. I took the glass out and then gave it a coat of the Nantucket blue. And now I want to create a edging that I can paint my white checkers into. So I'm going to use a piece of washi tape as a spacer. I'm going to line that up right against the edge, and then I'm going to go in with the washi tape that I'm going to paint against. So it does kind of go over the opening a little tiny bit, but that's okay because it's really that outside edge that I'm concerned about. So I'll just put my piece of washi tape, my spacer down, and then I'll put in another piece next to it. And then I'll do that the same way on all sides. So as you can see, like for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and go over that line a little tiny bit. But for this part, when I cut it off, I'm gonna make sure that I cut it off in between that washi tape. And that's just gonna make it so that I don't have to trim quite as much when I'm done. You can do this any way that makes sense to you. If you need to do it one side at a time, you can definitely do that. But So you can see I've got a bunch of strips still in that outside edge that I want to paint in. So I'll just use my box knife and gently cut that extra tape off. And as you can see, now we have a nice perimeter marked off, and I can go in with my paintbrush and create those little checkerboard pattern. So I'll just use my paintbrush. I think this is a 1/2 inch flat here, but you can do this any size you want. And again, if you would rather use washi tape and tape off your checkerboard so that everything is more even, definitely do that. Now I'm using a white paint pen to go along the inside edge of our checkerboard. I just thought that it didn't look completely finished off, and I thought that using this white paint pen to kind of, I don't know, finish it off, I think, more than anything on the inside edge there. So you can do that if you want or not. And then I cut down some of the paper to fit the frame. And then I'm going to glue this little thankful sign in there. And I think this is very cute. And then we'll just add some more of those little sunflowers from the Dollar Tree. And that is all there is to this little project. It's a really easy, quick and simple project, but I love what it adds to all of the decor that we used today or made today. So I think this one is super sweet too. If you haven't been over to our Facebook group that Lisa and I host yet, we'd love to have you come check it out. We have crafters sharing inspiration daily, just like this project made by Nancy. She used old table legs and birdhouses to create this beautiful porch setter. Tammy made this amazing little bag with the flowers and the bee. I love it. And Carrie was inspired by one of my projects. This is so cute and so sweet, and I adore it. So that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know in the comments down below which project was your favorite. Make sure you hit that like button so I can get you those free printables, and subscribe if you haven't already. I hope you have a happy, healthy, and blessed day, and I will see you next time. Bye!